Hi, I'm Ryan Stevenson, Head of Energy Voice and eForward, and I'm here at All Energy today with Jennifer Arran from LCP Delta, who's been chairing a panel on the conference program. Great to have you here, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a bit about the panel. What was the interesting insight that you gleaned from it earlier on?
Yeah, so the panel I led was on heat decarbonisation, which is an issue very close to my heart. I'm a bit of a fan of the heat pump. From a technology perspective, have one in my home, but I'm also very aware that they're not an easy technology for all customers to engage with, and even as an advocate for the technology, when I got my heat pump installed, it was quite challenging. It wasn't an easy process for me, and I know what I'm doing. So the heat decarbonisation panel was a great session. We had a mix from the Minister for Climate Action, Dr. Alistair Allen. He joined us on the session, and we had a mixture of advocates from industry, so Nesta joined us on the panel, Robin Parker, alongside a representative from Scottish Power, from a social landlord, and from the Scottish Futures Trust. So it was a really good mix.
Really good panel. And tell me, at eForward, we're always interested in finding solutions to the problems that exist in the energy sector.
Yeah.
What were the kind of problems that you were discussing, and more importantly, what kind of solutions were on the agenda?
Yeah, buildings in Scotland are a huge challenge. So we're thinking about net zero, we're thinking about 2045, 2050, it's getting nearer all the time, and we absolutely need to decarbonise buildings in Scotland. They account for a fifth of greenhouse gas emissions in Scotland, so we can't get there without addressing this sector. And I think it became clear from the panel there's no single solution. There's a mixture approach that needs to be taken in Scotland, and we had a lot of discussion around heat networks, which is a newer area for me, and I found it really fascinating to hear that there's so many big projects around flats or around tenement buildings that have huge potential to be absolutely game-changing for the sector.
Brilliant. So you're leading in nicely there to tech and innovation. Was there anything that came out during the discussion that you hadn't heard about before in terms of technological development?
The easy answer is no. So actually, heat pump technologies are really well established. And I think in the UK, there's kind of a misconception that it's something new and innovative and novel. How they get used is probably where the innovation is. So we did have a conversation about flexibility, about how you optimize their assets, how you make them pay for the customer in the home. And a lot of the answer to that is around, obviously, the energy price. We'd love to address and rebalance energy prices, but in the absence of that, private companies, energy retailers have a role to play in making the technology more affordable by approaching it with kind of a flexible mindset, introduction of different tariffs, education on how to get the best out of the system. So that's one of the key themes.
And why do you think the outtake in heat pumps hasn't been as fast as you might like it to have been?
Yeah, in the UK, there's a backdrop of a legacy of reliance on gas boilers. Energy prices don't help, so a lot of the costs and the levies for renewable energy generation is placed onto the electricity price artificially in the UK, and it means that the payback for the technologies, even when they're super efficient, is very slow compared to a gas boiler, and there's a high upfront cost as well. So we're asking customers to outlay more than a gas boiler, potentially have a more complex install than a gas boiler, and potentially pay more for their energy. So there are the three kind of major challenges that need to be addressed.
Yeah, brilliant. And more generally, round and about the conference, there's a lot of noise, as we can hear in the background here. How have you picked up the vibe of All Energy this year? Do you think it's good? Is it optimistic, or is there a bit of caution in the air?
I think there's a bit of caution, but the panel I was on especially as well, and walking around the stands, it feels quite optimistic. There's quite a lot of change, I think. It feels there's a lot of focus on kind of capturing installers. So it's quite interesting to see the MCS are here from a heat pump perspective. And I think there's a lot of focus on how do you build the supply and the skills to enable it to go faster and better. So I think that's probably one of the key themes for me is, the technology's kind of ready, the market's kind of waiting, and it's about building those skills now.
Yeah, brilliant. And you said you had a minister on the panel today. We're 5 years out from 2030. Do you think the government is doing enough to really drive us towards the net zero goals that they have for that time?
Yeah, I think they are coming to a period where they're starting to do a lot more. There's some really strong bill and objectives coming in, like policy objectives coming in. I think it will really help, but there's always more you could do.
Yeah.
That's a politician's answer.
Very good. Yeah, you're going to go far when you become an MP. And just finally, I'm interested in you and your company. Tell us a bit about LCP Delta, what you do, and how long you've been there, and what your plans are.
Yeah, okay. So LCP Delta are a research and consulting firm. So we specialise in the energy transition. I focus on the residential sector, so I look very much at technologies that are going into homes and on the customer side of the meter. We also have a power team, and I go all the way through to big generation. So we look at things like flexibility, the impact of energy storage. Networks is a huge topic for us, especially in the UK, because how do we balance the grid and make that make sense? So everything is increasingly interconnected. I've been with the company for 15 years nearly. Yeah, so long time at LCP Delta, and it's been really exciting to see the kind of sector start to develop.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks very much for popping in. Been really nice to chat to you, and good luck with the rest of the conference.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me.